Okay, let me start with a question that might make you pause. What does it really mean when a country's political system rallies behind punishing another nation's economy, especially when the architect of that effort is no longer alive to see it succeed? Because that's exactly what happened here. The US Senate just passed this massive Russia sanctions bill, pushed by the late Senator Lindsey Graham, and now everyone's acting like it's a triumph. But wait, let's really unpack this. Because beneath the surface of bipartisan unity and moral posturing, there's a tangled web of contradictions, political theater, and questions we are not asking hard enough. First off, let's talk about the symbolism versus the substance here. The bill is framed as a moral signal to Ukraine, right? A way to starve Putin's war machine of cash. But here's the thing, sanctions are like a game of whack-a-mole. You target one revenue stream, and Russia adapts. They are already rerouting oil through third countries, using old tankers, and deepening ties with China and India. So when the Senate boasts about penalizing top purchasers of Russian energy, I can't help but wonder, how much of this is performative? How many of these measures are just optics for the cameras while the real economic chess game plays out elsewhere? And then there's the elephant in the room, Donald Trump. Let me unpack this carefully. The same president who once called NATO obsolete and hesitated to condemn Russian election interference is now being handed more authority to impose tariffs. That irony isn't lost on me. The bill gives Trump the power to slap tariffs on countries buying Russian oil, but Democrats are terrified he'll weaponize that power for his own trade wars. Here's where it gets wild. The party that spent years accusing Trump of undermining Ukraine is now enabling him to make decisions that could either cripple Putin or tank the US economy. It's political whiplash, honestly. What fascinates me most is how Graham's death turned this bill into a quasi-religious crusade. Suddenly, every senator wants to honor his legacy by voting yes even if they privately think the sanctions are impractical. Blumenthal's line about Graham watching from beyond. That's not just sentiment, it's guilt engineering. Legislators are being shamed into compliance by the ghost of a colleague. It's a brilliant, if manipulative, tactic. But does it lead to better policy? Or just rushed decisions wrapped in the flag? Let's zoom out. This isn't really about Ukraine anymore. It's about the US clinging to the illusion of global dominance. Every sanctions bill, every arms package, it's a desperate attempt to prove that America's still the sheriff of the world. But here's the truth. The unipolar moment died a while ago. Russia's still fighting. China's buying oil at a discount. And Europe? They are stuck in the middle, paying the price for energy shortages while Washington grandstands. So when the Senate says we are not backing down, are they actually influencing the war, or just feeding domestic narratives? And what about the cost to ordinary Americans? The bill's supporters dismiss inflation fears, but let's be real, tariffs on imports ripple through the economy. When they target energy, it hits wallets hard. Wyden and Paul, unlikely allies here, are raising valid concerns, even if their motives differ. It's easy to cheer sanctions when you're not the one choosing between heating your home and buying groceries. That disconnect matters. Finally, let's address the elephant in the room no one's naming. This bill is a distraction from the real question: how does this war end? Sanctions might pressure Putin, but they don't guarantee peace. Ukraine's still bleeding. Russia's still conscripting. And the longer this drags on, the more the US risks getting trapped in a cycle of endless support without a strategy. So while the Senate applauds itself, I'm left wondering, are we buying Ukraine time to win, or just time to survive? So here's my closing thought: celebrate this bill if you want, but don't mistake it for victory. It's a gesture, a signal, a chess move in a game where the board keeps changing. And maybe that's the most tragic part. After Graham's death, after Zelensky's Capitol visit, after all the speeches about not backing down, we are still just trying to convince ourselves that we control the narrative. What do you think? Is this the kind of foreign policy that actually shapes the future, or just another layer of noise in a world that's moved beyond our reach? Let me know in the comments.